Have you ever made a wager only to lose it all? Well, that's what just happened to weightlifting. The governing body on weightlifting, the IWF, reset the weight categories in hopes that they would get more classes at the Olympics. But the IOC said no and did not increase the amount of categories or spots available for weightlifting at the LA Olympics. Now imagine you are in charge of weightlifting and you've been given the news that your category resets were all for naught. You have two choices. You can go back to the old categories and forget this all happened. Do not disturb the status quo. 2. Call their bluff and continue on with the category changes, throwing everyone who competes, even those not in the Olympics, under the bus. They chose the second. As such, the rumors are that these will be the new Olympic categories. The women's 53, 63, 77, 86, and 86 kilo plus categories. The men's 65, 79, 94, 110, and 110 plus kilo categories. If you watched my previous video about the category resets, you might have a question. The 94 kilo category? Don't you mean to say the 98 kilo category? Well, that was the case until the IWF reset it. While some might say that this is due to the popularity of Carlos Cesar, the reality is that before we had 10 categories, of which there needed to be 5 Olympic categories. 10 divided by 5 is a pretty nice number. Most of the old categories are spread in a way that it's okay to take 5 classes. But now there are only 8. 8 divided by 5 is a not so nice number. The distribution of weight classes is worse. So they took action, changing the 98 kilo class to be 94 kilos. It does look like this will most likely be a temporary change until after the Olympics, as they did not change any other weight category. But this creates the second smallest and the largest jump between two classes in the history of the IWF. Wild changes abound, but how does it impact the meta of weightlifting? Outside of the supers who are never impacted by category changes, to be blunt, drastically. I'll start with the men's and go on to the women's. If you're a 55 kilo lifter who plan to go to the Olympics, you'll need to start bulking now. Though for most of the 61s, that really isn't the case. Most of the 61s could easily make the switch. Heck, most of the 61s regularly competed in heavier classes. Hampton Morris, Sergio Maceda, Ivan Dimov. It honestly feels like most 61 kilo lifters got a bit of leg room. Most 73s as well could bulk easily to the 79s, or have competed previously as 81s. Ramon, Risky, Rippers. And for those wondering, Ramon and Risky will have to have another battle to determine who's going to the Olympics like they did last quad, so stay tuned. With 81 kilo lifters who are coming down like Ri Chong Song and Alexei Churkin in particular, the 79 kilo class is looking like it's going to be the most competitive class. I honestly like the idea of having the 65 and 79 kilo classes be Olympic categories. But the 94 kilo class is a bit of an ugly duckling. It's kind of a bit too close to the 89s, so that most of the 89s will probably not gain that much on the bulk upwards. It's also a bit too far away from the 102s, so that it messes with anyone trying to come down. And the current 96 kilo class is non-Olympic, so we aren't really gaining much lifters from those classes, outside of Nurgisa and hopefully the return of Kianish Rostami. I know it seems like this category was created for Carlos Cesar, but honestly, unless something happens to him, he was going to win regardless of whether or not there was an Olympic 88, 89, 94, 98, really whatever class there was going to be. Unless he gets injured or popped, he will probably win. Honestly, I think it's for the best. A couple extra kilos won't really hurt most of the 89s. And while I understand it screws over all the 102s, even those not competing, the long-term gains for the weightlifting scene are immense. Outside of Uncle Russ's 242, for the past 4 years, there really hasn't been much of a heavyweight scene. The 102 kilo class is technically called a heavyweight class, but it's far from the 109s and 105s in the total record. And the 102s are even beaten by Carlos Nassar in the total, while he was weighing 8 kilos less, at 94 kilos. With the 110 kilo category, it encourages a real heavyweight class to emerge. And while it may not be as good of a class as the 109s or 105s just yet, the future of the heavyweights looks pretty bright. Honestly, I really like the rumored men's Olympic categories. The women's categories are a bit different. With the 53 kilo category being an Olympic category, most of the Olympic 49 kilo lifters will get a break. And the addition of ladies like Alexandra Grigorian and Chen Guanling could be big. Though I'm hoping Ri Sangum and Zhao Jinhong could move up, because those two ladies, they deserve a gold medal. I'm not gonna lie. The 63s is going to be competitive, like the 79s, with all of the 59s coming up. But while it is competitive, I don't think it's going to be the most competitive class. The most competitive class will most likely be the 77s. In the 77s, a war is brewing between Sungkook Yang, Liao Guifeng, and Olivia Reeves. A large portion of the 81s came down from the 76s, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if we see a migration from the 81s and 71s to the 77 kilo class, making the 77s the most competitive class. And while that's great for the 77s, it means only a small amount of 81 kilo lifters will actually move up. The 81s and 87s were not the most competitive classes, nor does it look like the 86 kilo class is going to be super competitive. I will explain why the 80 kilo classes have not been super competitive in general, so stay tuned. Outside of Sulford Coanda and whoever China decides to send, it seems like nobody else is going to really be cracking the 280 kilo mark, which is a shame. Honestly, I don't think there should be an Olympic 86 kilo class. The category is not competitive enough to justify its Olympic existence. I think lifters like Sulford Coanda could bulk up to the supers and make that category more competitive. Because we all know that the supers are not competitive as well. Most female lifters are between 50 to 75 kilos, and having two classes that are above that range that are uncompetitive really takes away spots for lifters in these more competitive classes. I think the IWF needs to focus on creating the most competitive scene possible. Having an Olympic 86 kilo class is just not the move. I would personally rather have an Olympic 58 or 69 kilo category, of which we know are going to be more interesting to watch. But then again, these are rumored Olympic classes, and the IWF is still deciding as we speak. If I was the IWF though, I would have already released the Olympic categories yesterday. The more time athletes have to adjust to their new weight categories, the better they will be, especially after they've already been relatively shafted over the past two quads with all the Olympic category changes. What are your thoughts on the rumored Olympic categories? What categories would you choose to be Olympic? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you and have a great day.